As the title says, this video is the big thing that I think Anime Impact needs. Two things I want to lay out before we get into it. The first is that all of these are just from my experience playing the game so far and what I found the most joy in during this week or two that I've played. With that being said, this video may not, and most likely will not, speak for all of the community in terms of wants and interest for what they're going to want to see with the game. And obviously, I'm down to read that stuff in the comments. But yeah, with that being said, on to the video. My first point is that I want more to do in the game. For me, after the story mode, there are three main ways to keep yourself busy while playing Anime Impact. The first is infinite mode, the second is PvP, and the third is hard story mode. First is infinite mode. Guys, please. First is infinite mode. I'm not sure if it's other games like ACD and Anime Adventures, but infinite mode just doesn't really excite me anymore. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but maybe it's the lack of not really winning, or it's just boring, kind of monotonous to me, where you just go through and kill the grunts over and over again. Even if I don't do it manually, auto-moding it is the same thing, where it's I'm not really even playing the game at that point. Infinite mode is just not really, it's not doing it for me personally. I could be bugging, I could be out of touch, but I don't know, it's just not that interesting for me. Second, PvP. I've actually played one match in PvP, which means I can talk about literally everything. I'm literally a PvP expert. And I actually can see the appeal for people who like testing team building skills and their ability to roll blessings, that's a huge part of it, against other people. And I could low-key see myself casually playing PvP against some of my friends, I think that could be pretty fun. But I don't know if I see it being the thing that I do when I'm bored and just by myself, I don't think I'm going to get myself into the super competitive ranks of PvP. It's not really the type of thing I want to get into. Lastly, there's hard story mode. Now, I haven't really looked, I haven't really asked anybody around, but I'm pretty sure I'm in the minority of players in terms of playing hard story mode. I mean, for me, it feels like the best way to play challenging PvE content because the rest of it is dumb easy. And except for maybe drops and stuff, I don't really have that many complaints with it. Second thing is that I want to make the grind a little more interesting. So I remember my first few days of playing the game, right? I got all my mythics, but I still need to evolve them. This is before I even knew that you could only get candies from Alabasta and Soul Society Infinite. I thought it was any of the four could drop candies and that all the sources I was looking at were just false. No, it's the last two Infinites for anybody who's wondering. I doubt anybody's wondering, but hey man, if I help that one guy out, it's worth it. I thought it would be impossible to get anywhere in the game. I figured I'd just have unevolved mythics. I'd always be wondering about, wow, I wonder what father-son Gohan is like, and I would never know. But I feel outside of challenge mode, which is an obvious way to do it, and then I figure out infinite mode later, even outside of candies, soul, what are they called? Soul orbs, the thing you use to level up, they're kind of just I don't know, you only get them from challenges, or you get one from the little limited shop that shows up. At least that's all I know about how to get them. Why, bro? Just add a more interesting way to get these types of items. Spirit orbs, candies. I mean, the candies, fine, you can leave the infinite grind. I don't think the infinite grinds need to be taken out per se, but I'm just saying there could be more ways to get these items. You don't gain anything from locking candies behind hours of infinite mode or a bunch of challenge modes, which challenge modes aren't even really consistent because they don't always drop the same type of candy, or they don't sometimes even have candies at all, and sometimes the drops are literally gems and coins. Respectfully, gems fine, I'll take that. But coins, bro, I don't need coins like that. Come on, I don't think anybody needs coins like that if they're gonna be honest with themselves. So that's what I'm saying. I just want a more interesting way to farm up these items that are important, the costume tokens and stuff the blessing rerolls. And I have an idea for how to remedy that coming up right now. The second part to this video is talking about two things: raids and challenge fights. Now, They do have a challenge mode already. I'm gonna get into that later when I actually talk about my vision for what I want to see from this like challenge mode. It's just what I'm calling it for lack of a better term. But first, I'm gonna talk about raids. Raids are like a future thing that I haven't heard too much about yet. I'm just guessing what they could be based off ASCD and Anime Adventures. I'll acknowledge that raids could easily be the answer to some of these problems that I've been bringing up, right? Where if you want difficult PvE content that challenges your roster, or something that's going to have you like link up with the community, like work together with the community like you would in ASTD or Anime Adventures, that's really what raids are good for. There is one thing I'll say about raids though. In ASCD and Anime Adventures, when you do work with other players, you retain access to your full lineup of characters. It works well that way because, that's how tower defense games work. You all get to bring in your own lineups, right? And there's no like conflict there. But if you look at the way that Anime Impact is structured, where it's like it's like a 4-on-6 at max, where most times the players are the 4. Even if they expand the lobby to a 6-man lobby, I feel like you're probably just gonna be having like each player play one person, and I kind of don't like that. You lose control over the characters for how many people you're playing with, And I kind of just explained it, but if you work with one other person, like I played with my friend the other day, so I played 2 characters instead of 4 characters, like I only got to use 2 of my units. So if I'm playing in a full lobby of 4 players, then I'm only using 1 character. That's kind of crazy, bro. Like, I just want to have I want to be able to play. Like, I don't want to sacrifice the amount of control and the amount of like play time, I guess, that I have if I'm working with somebody else, like for this raid game mode. But what I could see them doing is, depending on how hard they make the raids, is you get to bring in 4 characters, even though you only get to have 1 at a time. Like, once one character dies, the other one comes in, just like the next round or something. And that could be cool, because it means that, in the pre-game or in the lobby before you guys go in, you're like, okay, guys, so who's going to put Tsunade in their first rotation? So we can be rotating out these healers, basically. I think that could be kind of cool. It could add another dimension to, not necessarily team building, but definitely to, like, the collaboration element that I think raids could bring. So, this is all speculation on my end. We'll just have to see what happens when the raids gun mode is properly implemented, whenever they decide to. I don't think they've said anything about it yet. But now I'm going to really get into, not the meat of this video, but what I've been looking forward to talking about the most, which is the challenge mode that I proposed, okay? Let me explain. I know what you're thinking. We already have a challenge mode. It's not what I mean. I use the word challenge, as I said earlier, for lack of a better term, but it doesn't really serve like the challenge mode that's in the game right now, because like, if we're being honest with ourselves, right, the current challenge mode, it's very, very easy. As soon as you get decent units, you can really auto mode through it with no difficulty, get some good levels on them. It's very easy. What I'm talking about is like some type of a fight, or like a series of fights, like a fight that happens multiple ways like they already have in the game, that's meant to test you and your unit's abilities. That's not PvP and that's not infinite mode. It's just going through this cycle of, whatever. I think it's a mode with single player in mind. This is just me kind of tailoring it to what I would want to see. Like something that you can do either like single player or with other people, if you like want to play that way. But for me, like I want it to be beatable solo mode. Maybe it scales with the amount of people you bring. I don't know. But having it scale like that doesn't really work, because they can do that in tower defense games because you're literally getting more characters. In the case of Anime Impact, you're not really getting more characters. It's still 4 characters at the end of the day. But, it's balancing conversations that aren't for me to have. But I think this type of game mode where, single player in mind, can make for 2 changes in the game that will be, I think, beneficial. Diversity in boss design, and more importantly, character design. Now, boss design, pretty straightforward in terms of like what I'm saying. Zabuza and Haku already exist as bosses in the game, but just as an example to give bosses kind of unique abilities, where I think you could take a lot of the blessings that our characters have and give them to the bosses, that could be cool. So I know Cell or Goku has this instant transmission ability that allows him to move and protect an ally. I've been using that a lot. Zabuza and Haku have that relationship in the anime that would fit with a system like that, you know what I'm saying? Not to say that, you know, they should make Zabuza and Haku the first boss fight of that nature. I think that's kind of lame, especially because they're already in the game. And what are we going to do with that? Like a mythic Zabuza and Haku unit as the reward? That could be kind of cool. I'm not going to hold you. But you can also take a note from the hit mobile game Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle, right? You just get a boss that's either himself very tanky or like has a strong surrounding cast that's meant to protect him. And then he has like a crazy ultimate attack that just obliterates your team. No Exodia. That's enough about the bosses, though. Let's talk about the characters, because low-key, that's really where I think this could shine. When I watched Infernasu's video on Minato's evolution, he said that Minato would be less effective than characters with full AoE attacks like Gohan, Sage Naruto in Infinite Mode. Which makes sense, because Infinite Mode is all about like getting these basically splash damage attacks, and this isn't the call in question what he said, like I agree. But it made me think back to Dokkan again. You know, it has 6 different types of characters depending on how you count it. It's a wonky 6. But what I'm really saying is there are 2 main types of units. Ones that are made for long form content versus ones that are made for short form content. If you want an example of long form characters, look at the newest LR UI Goku that gets to his peak later in the fights with this transformation. For short form content, there are characters like STR Future Gohan, who gets his abilities because the bulk of his abilities decently early in the fight and then kind of tapers off a little bit later on. Within both of those categories, there are units that are made to fit in specific spots on a rotation as well, like slot 1, 2, and 3, and do different things depending on where they're supposed to go within those slots. But I don't want to get too much deeper into Dokkan speak because this is an Anime Impact video, so I'll put it in Anime Impact terms. You have characters that are meant to tank and eat hits like Sage Naruto, characters that are meant to deal damage like Super Saiyan 2 Gohan, and healers and supporters like Tsunade. But within those divisions of damage dealer specifically, there can be those characters that are made to clear, maybe they're not tailor-made for Infinite Mode, but shine better in Infinite Mode, which would be characters like full AoE, with full AoE ultimate attacks like Gohan or Sage Naruto, or characters that are engineered for more 1v1s PvP style, or in the context of this challenge mode, boss killers who just do large single target damage. Like Minato's ultimate, I don't really know what the damage on it is per se, but if they cranked up that damage OD and then just said like, oh, okay, you know, he's gonna be dealing crazy damage to this one person, then that could be really cool. But again, I can't fully make that comparison to Dokkan now that I'm saying this, like I'm thinking about this. Because if you have Minato have his damage cranked up to the max, you also need to balance that in PvP, which is a slippery slope, right? And I feel like that's kind of where you can't really make a good comparison to Dokkan, but it's just one of those PvE games that I'm very familiar with, which is why I'm making a lot of connections to this game mode, like between Dokkan and this game mode that I'm proposing, because it's just something I know a lot about. There's Star Rail, but I'm very out of touch with Star Rail and all of its forms of content. I've only done like the first story arc, like Bellabog, and like part of the simulated universe. So I've only played the story mode of Bellabog has a lot of boss battles, but you know, I don't know enough about it to confidently say that characters who work well in PvE also work well in PvP. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not sure. I don't know anything about the meta of Star Rail at all. But, you know, it's getting off on a tangent, right? I think that if you have characters that are made for, like, boss killing, like I propose Minato could be, who just do large single target damage, you could add a variety of characters that get played, like types of characters that get played, and also a variety in kit design for, you know, the game devs. Because I feel like, to a certain extent, if you give everybody a full AoE, I mean, every character is going to feel like, oh, okay, so they got their one, like, basic attack, another basic attack. Like, obviously, AoEs are important because Infinite is the main form of challenging content, but I don't know. I will say that Minato could be made for PvP, like trying to snipe out tanky characters or to get, like, a high single target damage. I'm not really sure if it's what the game devs are planning for, or what they were necessarily thinking with the design of Minato, because if you think about it, where infinite mode is the main form of content, I don't know why they make him that way where he doesn't have a strong AoE. I'm gonna put that all aside. Well, he doesn't have a full AoE. He does have an AoE in the Rasengan Rasengan barrage. I think he still has that. But obviously, like, a 3-person AoE isn't going to do better than a 6-person AoE, you know what I'm saying? Where infinite mode gets up to, I think, 6 people or, like, 8 people. Something crazy like that. But all in all, that pretty much wraps up the new challenge mode on a gameplay level. But I even want to talk a little more practically about where I think about putting it in terms of, like, not UI, but what I would do with it in the game. And what type of enemies you could find yourself facing in terms of, well, like, character pick. I think that for the first few editions, doing movie-based content could do pretty well. This is probably the Dragon Ball fan in me speaking, because Dragon Ball has a lot of movies to pull content from. But, you know, I'm not going to act as if I don't see those Naruto movies that are on Netflix. Not that I've watched them, but, like, I know they exist. I think Bleach has some major motion pictures, and I know One Piece has a lot, too. I don't know if Netflix has the Bleach ones on there, though. My point being is movies are a decently good place to start, unless they want to use, like, filler arcs or something to get their content from. But, you know, it can be, like, an after story. You beat all of the Naruto world, and then it's like a sub fight that's like, oh, okay, you know, big boss, you know? Movie 1 of Naruto or something. It doesn't have to be limited to just movie content, because while a lot of animes have movies, I mean, I'm sure not all of them are good. So we could definitely see a lot of variety in terms of where they pull from. But I think it's a good place to start. One last thing that comes from, you know, playing hard story mode is that there should be an easy and hard mode on even this boss fight. Not to say the easy mode is easy. It's just that hard mode is really hard in terms of it introduces blessings like it does in hard story mode. Like, it just cranks up health, damage, and it gives the bosses blessings. Like, that's pretty much what hard story mode does. And it's keeping me invested. It's fun. I think that doing that with one of these bosses, it's probably going to be, I don't know about unbeatable when it first comes out, but it's going to be really difficult, especially hard mode. Well, I'm thinking hard mode specifically. I'm sure normal mode would be, like, probably made so that you could win with modern characters. But, yeah. But that's my grand plan, proposition, if you will, for the Anime Impact devs. Doesn't really have to be taken, but I'm curious as to what you guys think about it. Definitely let me know in the comments. Low-key, kind of think I was cooking. There are some holes in it, you know, I'm not gonna lie. But I was kind of cooking. So just to wrap it up, those are my feelings and hopes for Anime Impact as of July 1st, 2024. Now they're going to see this video on the 1st, probably like the 2nd or 3rd. Again, definitely make sure to tell me what you guys think of this video and my idea in the comments down below. As always, I've been Goku Moji, and thank you guys for watching.